Welcome back to Money Honeys. I'm Freddie.
I'm Chantel.
I'm Dev.
So let's jump right into it. We're about 30 days out from our next presidential election, and there have been presidential debates. There have been concepts of plans and claims around immigrants eating pets. There's also been a glaring issue that's been addressed more during this election cycle than ever before, and it's the rising cost of housing.
So we did some episodes back in the day on how to buy a house when we first started this podcast a couple years ago. So go back and listen because they're good episodes, y'all. And now we're all just sitting here like, is it even possible for people to have the American dream of home ownership in this economy?
Yeah, I know. The dream feels further and further out of reach than ever before. And we're going to get to the bottom of that today. Now, as we venture into the topic of this conversation, let us just begin by saying it's an absolute privilege to own a home, period. However, it shouldn't feel like this distant goal that's only attainable if you're an actual millionaire. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's really starting to feel more and more like that. And this is coming from an actual homeowner. Like, I'm like, I don't know what direction this is going in, but it doesn't look good. So when Biden was first sworn into office in 2021, the median home prices in the US was $331,000. In 2023, the median home prices went up to $422,000. Sorry. Wait, am I not able to read numbers? What's happening? 100,000. Right?
Nothing sounds good anymore.
Why don't you round up or round down?
Okay. In 2023, it went up to $422,000. And then this past July, we were at $439,000, according to Redfin data. So Chantel and I are both homeowners. Chantel, since you bought your home in 2016, that's the year, right?
Mm-hmm.
What year did you have the most growth and which year did you see the least growth? Or even just like, these can be actual numbers, or it can also just be like how you felt. You know what I mean? Like, did you feel like you had an easier time, like paying your mortgage? Were you checking often? Were you like, oh shit, like my house is like growing, like I'm getting so much appreciation? Like, was there a particular year that you felt that way, and did it ever affect like who you voted for between 2016, 2020, and 2024?
So I wouldn't say that it necessarily affected who I voted for between those years, but part of that is because we do live in Los Angeles. And so I know that regardless, even if there's dips over time, real estate in Los Angeles is going to grow at a pretty rapid rate. Overall, since I bought my place, it averages out to $20,000 in appreciation each year. So I've now
each year.
Each year. So my place has grown. Yeah, and this is it. It's a condo, y'all. I don't have land. I have one bathroom, and so since I've bought it, it's appreciated $160,000 according to Redfin. I do think that in the LA market, it's realistically, I would say it's probably more than 160. But according to Redfin, which I love sticking to that because you pulled all Redfin numbers, and I love Redfin. I'm a Redfin girl.
Me too.
I really am. Too. I'm not a Zillow girl. I'm a Redfin girl. Yeah.
It's the last thing I look at before I go to sleep at night.
I love Redfin. I really do.
Yeah.
Me too. Yeah. And so my Redfin estimate is up $160K since it was sold in 2016.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I would. So I also have a condo. I bought in 2021. Since then, I've appreciated about 100K, a little less than 100K, which feels good. But actually, this last year, I've lost 8K. But the previous years, it appreciated a lot. So it kind of balanced itself out. But I will say it never affected really who I was going to vote for or sort of what candidates stuck out to me, because like you said, Chantel, like I feel pretty confident that in general, there will be appreciation. There will be good years and quote unquote bad years. But all in all, there will be appreciation. I will see growth, X, Y, and Z. But I mean, I feel pretty good about the appreciation except for this past year. And I'm like, wow, I ended up losing a little bit of money on my house. But home ownership is all about, I mean, that happens a lot. Very standard, even month by month. there's like some months where it's like, oh, you know, it went down a few hundred or a few $1,000s.
Yeah, it's sort of like
So
any other investment account that you have
yeah,
too, you know, where it's like
exactly.
there's good months and there's bad months, but overall the trajectory, you keep your money in there, it's gonna appreciate, you know, even through a recession or through a depression. If you just keep it in there, it will always trend upwards over the longevity of the account.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Dev, where's your head at when it comes to the idea of buying a home in 2024? Does it make you consider renting for the foreseeable future? Do you ever consider leaving LA? Like, what's your vibe right now?
My vibe is poverty. That's my vibe. I mean, just in general, I have a little pot of money that I have not touched. I started it in 2015, so almost 10 years ago for a house fund. And it is good enough to potentially put down a little bit, half of a down payment, which makes sense because I just got married this year. I feel like in general, what scares me most about the housing market is, and we've talked about this before in the podcast, about how the idea of a starter home is further and further out of reach for like the new couple. So buying a house right now, first of all, Patrick and I are very, very lucky because we have a great apartment. We've got 2 bathrooms, we've got 3 bedrooms. He's got his office. I've got my little nook, my little office nook. I have a room where I can pole dance in. It's great. So to have the equivalent of that off the bat in Los Angeles is going to be more than $1 million for us.
Oh,
So
a
to
lot
have,
more, yeah.
and also Patrick and I really want a yard. We really want outdoor space, which kind of rules out the idea of a condo. To answer your question, where I'm at with it, yeah, I would love to buy a house, but I think just me personally right now, I don't think I can make that leap until I have a really consistent job and consistent income coming in. And I mean, we've talked about this in the podcast before. We've said that this is our broke years. We all have different kind of job situations. I'm still freelance. I'm still kind of making do with like a patchwork quilt of clients that I consult for, which is great. I'm so lucky to have that. But for me personally, right now, I don't feel secure enough to buy a house just because of all the upfront costs, just because of all of, and like we've said before, like I don't want to be house poor. I don't want to have all my money in a house. And I love, Chantel, I love that your house is appreciated $160,000, but that's not $160,000 in real money. You would have to sell your house first in order to get that profit. So that's the tricky part for me. Because again, I want to be a homeowner. I want to be a homeowner yesterday. Like Redfin is the last app I look at before I close my little eyes at night. It's just so hard.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely hear you and agree with you. I mean, in an ideal world, I would kind of move the way that Chantel has moved and like have my condo. If I happen to get another home, keep my condo to rent out to continue to have that property and also live in the new house. And right now, that does not feel like I'm going to be able to do that. I feel like I'm going to have to sell this condo in order to get something bigger, you know, like a single family home, which is, you know, my dream. And I'm just like, that's crazy. Like, I really want to keep my condo, but like, I'm trying to figure out if that's even possible. So,
and don't even get me started on interest rates, because anytime I look at Redfin, if you scroll down, if you have the app, join the club. But if you scroll down and you like adjust your down payment to see how much your monthly payment would be, the interest rates, y'all, they are
I know
constantly raining on my parade. Like,
what? Whenever interest rates are super high or housing costs are super high, there's always chatter about waiting until the housing bubble bursts. And a housing bubble is defined as a steep run up in home prices, and it could be for a variety of reasons. And one of those reasons is housing prices are outpacing income, which is 1,000% the case right now. Jobs are lowering the salaries that they're offering. I'm seeing pay cuts. I'm seeing like salaries for like really high positions like directors or, you know, even like C-suite type roles that just, it's like, oh, this would have been way higher a year ago. Like everything, the income for everything is just decreasing and the housing costs are increasing exponentially. Do we feel like the housing bubble will burst? And is this actually a good thing or a bad thing?
It depends on where you are, I feel like, because in Los Angeles, it's great when interest rates are high because that means competition is low.
But even then it's not. Where
Right.
it's like even in LA, it's like there's always going to be competition, and it's always going to just be a lot. Like I back in 2016, I was going up against multiple offers for this house. Like
Really?
I had a friend just submit an offer on a house a couple months ago, and interest rates were 7%, and he was one of like 15 offers because it was a well-priced house that, again, needed major renovations.
Ugh.
But if you had the money, it was the type of house where if you have the money to sink into those renovations, you'll get your money back like times 5, times 10. It was like an incredible investment property. So of course, there's going to be a lot of offers on something like that. But even still, where it's like theoretically, high interest rates mean less people buying and putting offers out. But in Los Angeles, it's kind of never really the case, because you always
Right.
have developers trying to look here, and you always have people moving here. You always have people moving here and looking to lay down roots here. There's always going to be competition. But all that to say, I don't think that the LA housing bubble is going to burst, not in any real way, because I think that when people think of that, they think of the recession. And I think that there's a lot that people learn from that. Even how banks lend and don't lend money and approve and don't approve people now has changed. And so there's so many safeguards against a housing recession like that. So I don't think that we'll see anything near that magnitude, remotely near that magnitude. Nor do I think that in Los Angeles there's going to be an actual housing bubble burst, because there's just such high demand to live in Los Angeles.
Okay.
Ugh.
According to
Yeah.
business According to Business Insider, a housing bubble pops when whatever was pushing demand suddenly evaporates. So this results in a lot of homes available, including new builds, and not enough people willing to buy. Prices drop, which is a good thing for buyers, but not great for sellers. And they're usually just encouraged to hold off on selling until the market stabilizes again. So it's really all just an endless cycle of trying to guess where the housing market is headed and where the economy is going, and just trying to have some type of foresight as to how potential home buyers are going to move. Also, in regards to interest rates, there's just so many factors. Shanti, were you super aware of the state of the housing market when you purchased in 2016, or were you kind of just like, okay, I have the money, now's the time?
I would say I was pretty aware, because like just housing and real estate, I've always been like a hobbyist when it comes to housing and real estate. And so even now I'm still constantly on Redfin, checking the housing market, checking housing prices, seeing what houses list for versus what they go for, all that stuff. And like even friends are like, "Why are you doing that? Are you trying to move? Are you trying to buy something?" I'm like, "No, I just enjoy it, and I enjoy knowing what's going on. I enjoy like checking the pulse of it, because it's a pretty good pulse check on our economy, and just the local economics of Los Angeles." I would say that I was pretty aware of the housing market when I bought it. Like interest rates weren't super high, they weren't super low. They're like in the fours. If I had more money, I could have qualified for lower, but I like didn't, and so I have like a very normal interest rate. I paid what I found to be like a pretty fair price for my condo, because I actually put in an offer sight unseen because I knew how much of a gem this one was based on what I
Whoa.
was seeing and
I
also
didn't know
like
that.
driving around the area.
Me either.
Yeah, like I would drive around the area. Like I would go with my dad, I would go with my mom, I would sometimes go with both of them, I would sometimes go by myself, where because my dad was like, drive the streets of where you want to live to make sure that that's a place that you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
um and like drive it during the day, drive it during midday, drive it at night, like see what the vibe is. I knew the gem when I saw it and I felt it. Like you just kind of feel it, and you're like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's my house. And so that's the one that you fight for.
I would say that I think had I not been trying to buy around the pandemic, I probably wouldn't have paid as much attention to the market. I probably would have just been like, okay, I have the money for a down payment, let's go. When I decided that I was ready to start seriously looking, it was in 2020. I was stuck in my apartment. I was like, I need to get out of here. Like, I am just feeling really claustrophobic in here. I want to feel some ownership over where I'm living. I want a little bit more space. And I had to wait
Mm-hmm.
because I needed to, I basically needed to have longer proof of self-employment to basically be
I
approved by a
remember.
lender. So I was like, yeah. So I waited until mid 2021, and that period of time, interest rates just happened to be low, and I was like,
Yep.
okay, I'm approved, and interest rates are low. Like, it felt like go time, and I found a place, locked in a place within 3 months of looking, thanks to Devin, who sent me the Redfin link for my current condo that I live in. So
Sometimes you just know,
yeah.
sometimes you
Mm-hmm.
just know. Like when you got that listing, did you like what did it feel like when you're looking through like the pictures on that listing, Fred?
Oh, I was definitely like, oh wow, like it had stuff that I didn't realize I was hell bent on, and I was like, oh wait, I actually do really need that. Like, I wasn't looking at a ton of places that had upstairs, downstairs. I felt like I couldn't afford it. And so when Devin sent over this condo and it had an upstairs, downstairs, it was 2 bed, 2.5 bath. Like, that's so rare to find, especially in a
Mm-hmm.
2 bedroom home,
Mm-hmm.
condo at that. And the price was just like within my budget. One thing about me, I spend money on things. Housing, like, even when I was like, look, even when living in apartments and stuff and like rent costs, like, I'm so frugal when it comes to housing. It is the one thing that I am just like really hell bent on getting a deal with. Like, I just,
So what's your opinion on people who overbid? And sometimes it's
I
necessary. And
mean,
again, we're not
yeah,
trying to judge, but like given that you are kind of like a frugal person when it comes to housing, because it's an
I
investment,
don't,
right? You want
right.
to
I mean, okay. So I was fully prepared to have to overbid and outbid people because that's just how it is these days. But I just think that means you need to then lower your budget. Like, that just means that, like, oh,
Mm,
if I got approved for it, I think my approval was that I would be okay buying a home for $560,000. Okay, like that was the
mhm.
top. Like, that was like the absolute top of what I could spend based on my approval rate. But so then I was like, okay, 450. I'm not looking for anything. And I really was like, okay, I'm not looking for anything above 500 because if I have to then outbid and do all that, I do have a little bit of room to play. But then I ended up finding my condo for 450,000, and I didn't have to compete against anyone. I was the first one to see it, and they just gave it to me at list price, which was like such a gift and such a rare occurrence that I was like, this home is supposed to be mine. Like, it's supposed to be mine.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. So you feel it.
Yeah.
You feel it.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
yeah, and
I
and
love that
that's not to
story.
say that like in homes that are meant to be yours is not to say that there might not be, you kind of have to put up a fight to get like, an escrow is the fucking worst. There's
Oh, there
always
was
going to be
drama.
there was drama, or
Yes.
like there's always going to be at minimum like 2 or 3 times during escrow where you're like, fuck this, I actually don't even want to live here. I don't even want it. I'm gonna throw it all away, and but it's like that's not to say that, oh, it's all easy, but
Hmm.
I don't know. I'm just sort of like I think you just kind of feel it when you're like, oh, I think that's supposed to be my house.
Yeah,
Or at the very
absolutely.
least, I think that's the direction that I need to go in.
Right. Or like
When
this feels like a good time to start looking, you know?
yeah.
So let's look ahead for the girlies like me. What do these presidential candidates, aka Vice President Kamala Harris and what's his face, what are they proposing for people to help with the housing market? So here's what I've heard. All right. Harris has pledged to lower home prices by addressing the shortage of homes in the US and the housing market. She will build 3 million new homes over 4 years to fix the existing supply gap if elected president, which we love.
Mhm.
She has also said that she will create tax breaks for home builders targeting first-time buyers and double the available funding of 40 billion to encourage local governments to remove regulations slowing down new construction. On the other hand, Trump's concept of a plan to address the housing cost crisis is to kick out illegal aliens to address the shortage. Now, here's my thing. I love the idea of a couple coming from a different country and outbidding, which isn't happening. If someone's coming from a different country, or maybe it is, but how Trump is framing it like
Yeah.
these illegal aliens. I love the idea that they're crossing the border and going, actually, I'm going to outbid John Smith for this house in Sunnydale.
Yeah, that's probably not
Love that story.
happening. Yeah, and
No.
he really is painting this picture like it is all of the immigrants taking all of our housing. Like I just and it has nothing to do with the American billionaires and millionaires and, you know, developers who are buying up everything and skyrocketing prices. It has nothing to do with that.
Right, right. Or the fact that they're tearing down apartment buildings and then creating like one single house on that lot, or creating, the like small single family homes that are almost townhomes, so it's like you're taking
Mhm.
housing for you're taking like 40 different units and then you're shrinking it down to being 6. But I mean that's why I do love Harris's plan to just build, because it's like that's the thing. You just have to create more homes. We just are a lot of people. There just has to be more places to live, and you increase supply so that way prices ultimately, theoretically, go
I
down.
was gonna say, yeah, and I also really um love the idea of going to the root of the issue and targeting local governments and removing all of these regulations, slowing down new builds. And like, there's just so much red tape when it comes to
Mhm.
construction. I mean, even when you think about like, if you're lucky enough to like build your own home from the ground up, there is, I mean, it can take years to even get all the permits that you need, you know, to like build your home. So it's like really going to the source, really going to the root and like making it easier for all of these new builds to actually be a reality. Makes me feel pretty confident in Kamala's plan.
Also, something I love about her plan is she's promising $25,000 for new homeowners, for new home buyers. So that's like a
Mm-hmm.
25,000, and that 25K goes towards your down payment, which is huge. It's like something
Yeah, I
new, something I
mean,
had never heard of before.
right. I've never heard of this, and I am curious to know. Like, I did see that, and I'm curious to see it actually implemented. Like, how is that going to be? Like, I would just love to see the actual rollout plan of like how they're going to um, provide new home, because there's a ton of programs, right? There's programs for like super
Mhm.
low down payment percentages and things like that. But like, even, I mean, y'all know I love money up front. That is my
Mhm.
shit. So
Mhm.
I'm really excited to see how she's gonna implement this and how it's gonna actually play out. Because if she is actually able to like provide new homeowners like 25K in cash, like to be like boom boom
Mhm.
boom, here you go, then that is game changing, and I would like to see it. I really would like to see it.
Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
down payment assistance, and also she's offering like where she's saying that she wants to offer a $10,000 tax credit,
Yes, here we go with the tax credits, which
which is
again are much
with
better
those
than
tax credit
deductions. Yeah.
deductions exactly.
Again, this is an absolutely partisan podcast. And we don't try to pretend to be anything other than that. So based on all of this, as well as many other factors, let's vote for our girl Kamala. Let's get her in there.
There it
Let's
is.
get her and sweet Tim Walz in there.
First female president. Let's do it.
Hell yeah.
Let's
Hell
do
yeah.
it. Do we feel richer after this episode? I actually do. Because this 25K
Me too.
Me too.
down payment assistance is like, ooh, monies. Give it to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel hopeful. I feel hopeful because I'm like, okay, here is, someone who sees a real need for more affordable housing to try to bring back any semblance of that American dream of you buy a home. It makes me feel good that a person who will hopefully be in power sees that as well.
It's hope.
Hell yeah.
It's hope. Well, thanks for listening, y'all. And we'll see you next time. This same place, same time. Bye.